a lot with senior citizens and the elderly. But now we know, to give you an example, it could be at any age. I was seeing a young man in therapy. I'd started to see him in his adolescence, and he was someone who had a number of medical issues, and he was someone who basically psychologically lost his adolescence in terms of going out and whatever. And I'll never forget the day, he must have been about 20 years old, he came in, and he said, in one sense, physically he was feeling better, and then he just started to cry in my office. And he said, but I feel so lonely. And it was at that moment that you realize, when you're with someone who you've known for a while, you realize the pain he was experiencing at that particular moment. As a matter of fact, to some of you know, Theresa May, the Prime Minister of England, she appointed a new minister this year. They never had this minister. Does anyone know what the minister was? I'm sorry, what? No. Loneliness. Maybe a happiness is the other side of the coin. Loneliness. I said, a minister of loneliness. And you know why? Research showed, I wrote an article on this. I don't know how they did this research. Some of you may know. Being lonely is like smoking 15 cigarettes a day. I don't know how they did it, but you'll see one of my articles. So one of the things, Theresa May, I'll be very interested in seeing what the outcome is, said it is a major mental health and physical health issue. So what does this mean? It doesn't mean you have to have 100 friends, but I became much more aware of who do we turn to? Why is this important? In all the research that's been done about resilience, when you ask people who've overcome adversity, people who've been in war zones, people who grew up abused, it doesn't matter, people who grew up under racism and poverty and now as adults are doing relatively well in life, and you say to them, I could have never predicted, based on how you were growing up, that you would be as hopeful and as optimistic as you are today. What do you think was the most important thing in your childhood or adolescence to help you overcome some of this? Number one answer in every study was, and it's a very spiritual answer, there was at least one person along the way who truly believed in me and stood by me. And the late Julius Siegel, who was one of my heroes in psychology, who wrote a lot about resilience, he used a term in an article 30 years ago. He called that person a charismatic adult. Some people aren't thrilled by the word charismatic, but his definition is nothing short of poetic. He says a charismatic adult is an adult from whom another person gathers strength. So we all need people in our lives in terms of from whom we gather strength. And more, and you don't need research to show this, in my clinical work, more and more, I want to know, who do people turn to? Like that young man, he was so lonely. Actually, there's a lot what happened. Sometimes, as a therapist, things work out very well. I said, how are you going to meet someone? He said, I really